Well, good morning, everybody. It's going on 12 o'clock, going on midnight. So I'm going to go ahead and teach a lesson about marriage and divorce. Marriage and divorce. Now, I'm in the process of getting ready to be in the process of getting my glasses upgraded because these are reading glasses, so they're not that strong. They're okay. I may have to add like a magnifying glass with these glasses so I can make sure I read and don't skip over something. We're talking about marriage and the marriage vows, what God said about marriage, what came about marriage, and why is marriage the way it is now, who instituted marriage, so forth and so on. So I'm gonna read this first, because I gotta read this. So just hang in there with me. And we're talking about marriage ordained by God. Now watch this. Now, a great multitude followed him, and he healed them there. And the Pharisees also came to him, tempting him, and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for any reason, any cause, for any reason? And he answered and said unto them, have you not read that he which made them male and female, male and female. God made them male and female. Okay. All right. And said, for this cause, a man shall leave his father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, not husband, wife, and they twain shall become one flesh, male and female. Wherefore, they are no longer twine or one, but they are now one flesh. And whatever God put together, let no man put asunder. In other words, don't let no man break up. Don't break nobody's marriage up. Okay. And they said unto him, the disciples said, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? Now, his disciples asked Jesus that. And he said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, that means disciples also believed in putting away their wife for no reason at that time. Remember, they were being taught by Jesus. So Jesus said, your hearts. In other words, you were one of the clowns that agreed to this particular law. And it happened, okay? Moses, put your heart, suffered you to put away because of the hardness of your hearts. But in the beginning, it's not. It was not so. Now, and who was, okay. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except be for fornication, and shall marry another, commits adultery. And whosoever marry her which is put away, commits adultery. His disciples said to him, if this be the case, it's not good to marry. But Jesus said, all men cannot receive the same, say they which to whom given to. Now let me break this down. Except it be for fornication. God's will for marriage is one mate, one marriage for life. That's what God meant it for. To this, Jesus gives an exception, namely fornication. Fornication is marital unfaithfulness, and it includes adultery or any kind of sexual immorality. Hence, divorce is to be permitted when sexual immorality is involved. The following are important biblical facts concerning divorce. When Jesus criticized divorce in 1978, He is not criticizing a separation because of idolatry, but a divorce permitted by the Old Testament. In those cases where a husband is discovered premarital unchastity after the marriage ceremony had taken place. Now, under the New, that's Old Testament, under the New Covenant, the privileges of the believer are not less. Although divorce is a tragedy, marital unfaithfulness is such a cruel sin against one's mate that Christ states that the innocent party has a proper right to end the marriage by a divorce based on idolatry. He or she is free to remarry another believer. Now, let me break this down, okay? Here's the thing. There's some history behind this. Back in the Old Testament, it was like this. In the Old Testament, when the Jews got married, the men wanted to make sure that the marriage that they married into, the woman was a virgin. That was a big deal back then. If you was a virgin, it's a good chance you're getting married. If you're not a virgin, it's a really bad chance you may not get married. Now, if a man marries a woman back in the Old Testament, and let's just say that she told her husband that she was a virgin, and then he finds out later on that she lied, and he can prove it, then he can go to Moses, and he would receive a letter of divorcement because of the lie she told, and he can get a divorce in that case. Now, here's why that happened. The reason that happened because the men did not want to marry a woman that was already engaged sexually to somebody else. And they didn't care what God said. They were not going to forgive their wives for the lie she told. If the wife put her truth online and say, listen, I want to marry you, but I had another man I was with, and do you want to forgive me for that? I do want to marry you, but I was with somebody else. Now, he might say yes, forgive her. He may say no, but that wasn't the case. They wanted a virgin, point blank, don't care what God said. The Lord God would want for the man to forgive his wife and they two be together for life after whatever happened. But the man said, no, we don't care what God said about that. We have a way we want. And that's the way it is sometimes. Sometimes you could want something that's not what God wants. And I don't care what God says. I'm not going to forgive nobody for nothing. Or you can be a person that says this. If you do me wrong, I am not going to forgive you in my heart. I'm going to hold that against you. And I know what God said about forgiveness, but I don't care nothing about that. I felt that I was done wrong. And I know what the Lord said, forgive, and ye shall be forgiven. But God has to understand that I was done wrong. So I feel, since I was done wrong, I have the right then to not forgive that person, and God should understand it. So see, you have our laws, our rules, then you have God's rules. So you have to understand which one you want. Now, back in the day, it was like that. And disciples asked the Lord, can we put away our wives if we feel we upset with them, they burnt the eggs, they didn't do right, they gained a little weight, And Jesus said, no. They didn't like that. They was pretty much mad about that, upset about it. And Jesus explained to them, in the beginning, God made male and female, not John and John, male and females. For this reason, you will leave your mother and father and get married, and then you become one flesh. Now, if you're married, let no man break you up for any reason. If she had an affair back in the day, whatever, you know how it is, especially nowadays. Nowadays, virgins is rare. Man, rare. So if you're looking for a virgin, you may not never get married. Anyway, nowadays, man, let's put it this way. Male and females are just doing it up now, okay? So you have to take it with a grain of salt and get what you can and see if you can work it out. Forgive one another and take it from there. That's the way it is now. But God's a just God. If for any reason your wife or husband leave you, or if for any reason he goes out and finds fresh stuff, his eyes were watered up, wandering eye, and he sleeps with that woman, and the wife finds out about it, and she will. She has the right then to divorce him, and because she was the one that was done wrong, she has the right to remarry. He doesn't. But what is happening today is when a man gets caught sleeping with other women, ministers marry him anyway, despite what God said. Now, the burden is on him. If the wife has clean hands and she didn't mess around and she was faithful and he wasn't, just tell you the truth, if he wasn't, then he's not allowed to marry nobody. He's had to wait until she passed away. Then he can remarry. But if he decides he can't wait, he got to have some nookie, and he done found somebody he liked, other than his wife, and he goes and marries somebody else, every time he has sex with that person, it's a sin. So if he has sex with her 100 times, each time is a count against him when you see God. It's the way it is. So you don't get no you don't get no freebie just because you let your wife go for no reason. So again, God is a just God. God's not going to allow the wife or husband that's been done wrong not to remarry. That's unfair. God is a just God. If for any reason a mate walks away from you because they found some greener grass on the other side, which is called abandonment, and you call him from work and he ain't answering the phone and he ain't coming home. He just left. He left state because he got online and met another woman, and so he, as the days went on, he packed his stuff up very so easy and took his bank account, closed it out. You know, he did a lot of stuff that she didn't know about. All of a sudden, he's gone. And she calls the bank and find out and calls his job, and he's not here no more. And where is he? We don't know where he is. And she called missing persons, and the cops say, well, where'd he go? No one can find him. And because he got a whole new life somewhere else with another woman. Then the woman is allowed to remarry because he abandoned her. Okay, when you abandon your wife or husband, that means you cause them to do things they ordinarily wouldn't do. So yes, you can remarry if your spouse is unfaithful, make a long story short. Now, the disciples asked about Enosh. I'm going to see what an Enosh is. An Enosh is a person that does not have a desire to marry and or have kids and or have sexual relationship with anybody on both ends, the husband, the man, or the wife. They have no desire in their mind for sexual pleasure. It just don't happen. So you have some women that become nuns, and you have some men become priests. Now, I mean back in the day. Now look, if you read the Bible, some people are born that way. They're born not to want to have relation with the opposite sex. Paul is one of them. Now, this is how it goes. King David. King David had 700 wives and concubines. This is how it went. Back in the Old Testament, what they would do was this. Kings, more than one, kings would have a lot of wives. And they got to have somebody to protect those wives. So what they would do, they would have kids that are born, that are growing up to be men, or they would have children that's growing up that's getting ready to be men. They would choose out the ones they want to protect their wives. But here's the catch. If you got 700 wives and you got that man guarding all those wives, he gonna want some pleasure. Too many pretty women walking around him. So how do you fix that? Then you would take the men and you would castrate him. You would castrate him, okay? Cut off their goodies. If you cut off a man's goodies, then there's no sperm collection. If there's no sperm collection, there's no reason to want to have sex. You become a unit, a eunuch. You don't want to have sex with no women, no man, nobody. And you become way stronger than the average guy. I mean, you become powerful because it takes the place of sex. And these guys are both strong and they're able to guard the wives of the king. These young boys are chosen. Now, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they were taken out of Israel and taken as man slaves to another country, if you notice something, none of them had kids, because the king, Nebuchadnezzar, I can't never say that name, Nebuchadnezzar, he had all the Jews that came over there, but he selected the three boys. When he selected them, they castrated all three of them. Now, how do I know that? Because if you read the Bible, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you never hear any of them having kids. So the king had them castrated, and they end up becoming very, 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 very in-depth in their jobs. They was good at their jobs. They didn't want to mess around with no women. They don't want to, they was really dedicated. And that's the way it goes. When you're not, when you become an eunuch, whatever you're doing, all your focus is on that. It's 100% on that. And these boys had to work for the king. They had to be dedicated. They had to learn a different language. They had to be, done over again. But they never forgot God. They stayed with God despite, and they became diehard Christians. Women didn't bother them. They did their jobs, and there are some men, like I said before, you can be born an eunuch, where you just don't your sexual organ don't want to have sex with a woman, or you can be made, or some are born that way. Some are born that way. It is hard to try to live that way if you're not an eunuch. It's hard. It takes, man, you forget it, because you're gonna want something sooner or later. So again, the kings, they had a lot of wives. They had to make sure that whatever guards they choose to defend, to protect their wives, he didn't want them to even lust after the woman. So on the way you do it is cut your testicles off. And they did it back in the Old Testament. These guys are smart, Old Testament. And they also knew how to make them when they were young, because they started them out when they were young. Certain sons were picked out to be that. And they would do that when they were babies. So that way when they grew up, if a king gets older, another king takes over, then as the young men grow up strong, very strong, they practice fighting and wrestling and battling and all that. Those ones they picked to protect their wives, the ones that could not have sex with a woman, couldn't even get it up, couldn't even do it. You can't get it up if you don't have the right equipment. And just the way it was, and that's anybody, that's in that situation. That's the way it goes. It's just the way it is. So if you are a female and you don't engage in certain activities, then what you don't do, you don't miss. So the way a woman becomes sterile herself is if a young lady grows up and she wants to dedicate herself to Christ, period, then what she don't want to do then is engage in activities that will cause her to have a situation where she have a sexual encounter. Now, once she does that, it's going to come back on her, but not that she's going to want to do it again and again, because you tasted the fruit, now it's there. And same with a man. I've had people tell me that they're going to do what Paul did. And I would ask them a question. Let me ask you a question. You ask me what? They said, I'm going to be a virgin from now on. Were you born a virgin? You were born a virgin, obviously. But listen, man, did you ever have sex with anybody? Yeah, man, I used to have sex all the time. So what made you stop? Well, I mean, I'm just, taking a break. But I'm gonna stop having sex altogether. I'm gonna become like Paul in the Bible. You can't. Because once you do the deed want to keep on going. That's why it says it's better to marry than to burn in lust. Because if you marry, God ordains marriage. God the one that created marriage. God the one said, no, be fruitful and multiply. But then there's some exceptions to certain people that may not want to do this, okay? And the Lord said, if you decide not to have sexual encounters, and if you decided to devote your full time to God, more power to you. But everybody can't handle that. So again, on a marriage thing, the man marries, if a man is married, and his wife come home, and her husband put on the refrigerator. This is a true story. I am leaving to go find myself. What? Go find yourself? You're married to her. What do you mean find yourself? That's just the way to get out of marriage. And then you see him like 5 years later, and he got another wife. And you say, whoa, what did you find? Oh, well, I feel that we wouldn't get along. We wasn't, connecting. So I let her go and got me a new wife. But you're supposed to give that situation to God and let God handle that. You got to pray about your marriage. You got to ask God to make your marriage better. But you don't want to do that because you said, I don't want. The average man, let's be frank, the average man don't like nobody interfering in their marriage. Nobody. Listen. The average man don't like nobody to interfere in their marriage, good or bad. Even God, they don't like that. They do not like it when God intervenes in their marriage. Because men, just the way it is, men are men. And men will tell you, I can handle this. I don't need God to handle my marriage. I can do it by myself. So, you do it, it becomes a disaster, and you end up getting divorced, breaking up, fighting, yada, yada, yada. So, when you give your marriage to Christ and fast and pray about a better marriage, now you're allowing God to take charge of your marriage. And when you do that, marriage gets a lot better, and God starts healing the marriage. But men don't like that. They don't like it when God interferes in their marriage. What I mean by that is they don't like it. They don't like it to allow God to intervene in their marriage for the betterment. When they feel, why should I ask God to heal my marriage when I can do it by myself? I am a man. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can change for the better. I can change for the better. But what you did not do was you didn't ask God to help you to get better. You figured you could get better on your own. And even now, it even gets worse. And you refuse to let God in your marriage because you don't want God interfering and telling you what to do by way of the Bible. Bible tells you how to treat your wife. It does. If you read the Bible, it tells you how to treat your wife, how to treat your kids, how to raise your kids. But ain't nobody trying to hear that no more. We don't need God interfering in our family. We don't need God. Look, I'm just going to go to church, give my offerings and my tithing, which is done away with. Tithing has been done away with a long time ago, but because men need new cars, new suits, and I understand that the organ player got to get paid, and they're saying God is a good God, but we can't trust God for everything. We can't trust the average pastor. We can't trust God for everything. That's why tithings was reinstated. Tithings was reinstated because men's pastors said we have to reinstate tithing as a mafia stronghold to get people to pay their money, because we got people that got to get paid, organ players, piano, musicians, all that, janitors, electric, gas, water. These bills got to be paid. So we can't depend on God to bring the money by way of free offerings. We cannot allow free offerings to be the only way to get money when we know we really can't trust God to make that happen. We have to institute a way to force people to give the money we need. So they reinstituted tithing, and the black church is loving it. They're getting rich and richer. They got mansions, they got new cars, they got Ferraris, they got it going on. And it is what it is, just is. Tithing was done away with a long time ago. You gotta understand why tithing was even put in. The nation of Israel. Tithing was for them and them only. It was not for anybody outside that sector. So, and the reason why God instituted it, so the people of Israel would be self-sufficient, take care of themselves, feed their poor, widows, fatherless, name it, and bring the goods into the storehouse. The storehouse was not a church, y'all. The storehouse was a barn, a building, a building where the Jews kept food, money, clothing, like they had like what you call a Goodwill, a food bank. We got our food bank from that situation, from the Old Testament. So that's where we got our food bank from. And the New Testament had a food bank too. In the New Testament, after Christ died, you never hear about tithing no more. No. I'm talking about from Acts on up to Revelation, never hear about tithing. Now, the young man that said, I'm a good man, I give 10% of everything I give, Lord, I'm going to come and follow you. And the Lord said, give away all your stuff and come follow me. You got to understand, in the New Testament, from Matthew to Revelation, the Old Testament was still in force. So they were still tithing then. But when Christ died, no more force giving. Now you give from the heart. And ministers don't tell you that. Because I remember asking Eugene in Akron, in Faith Place, why am I tithing as a musician, but the other musicians are not? Then I asked the other musicians why they're not tithing, and they said this: they better not even ask us to tithe, because we doing enough playing instruments, and we better get paid. So we don't tithe because we ain't got to. So they already knew the game. Other people were trying to educate me on this, but I wouldn't listen. Then I had to find out myself. I had to dig in the Bible again. When I found out that tithing was for the Old Testament, not the New Testament. And when I say New Testament, I'm talking about when Jesus was crucified and his power came into effect. Not, I mean, he was in power while he was walking the earth. But once Jesus got crucified, now the new era starts. Okay? Tithing was done away with. You give, God said, let every man give from his heart. Once a week, give from your heart. Because see, God loves a cheerful giver. So, if you're a man or woman and you want to give an offering, you can actually give an offering that would actually be better than the tithing. If you walk with Christ wholeheartedly, you're going to make sure that your church bills are paid because you love the Lord and you want the ministry to keep going. So you're going to do right. But you got a bunch of fake folks who want to be entertained. They may not want to do that. They might give enough money in offerings and tithing depending on how entertained they are. So if you go to certain churches and the pastor has a choir or cheerleaders that know how to sing and know how to just really get it going, the music going on, the organ going on. See, the organ player getting paid. So he got to get down to get down. You got the singers going crazy, and the church is just up and running around and having a good time, music going crazy, man. And everybody's happy. The pastor has to make sure that when he gets to preach, you got to keep it on the same level. So you can't step on toes and get good offerings. So you have to really be careful. If you say to your congregation, you got to preach, but don't preach too hard where somebody might get convicted. You don't want to do that. You want to just, so therefore, that's why they have a lot of people in the choir stand now that are gay, because the pastor is not allowed to 503c1. See, when you sign them papers, the government will tell you you now have to give any and everybody full range in your church. If we find out you're not letting any and everybody do whatever they feel like they want to do as far as having an office, then we can cut your funding. So what you do is you have to let Satan have his way in your church to a certain extent. And that's why you have, this is one of the reasons why they have 99% of the black choirs are gay. You know that. Come on, man. You know that church that I used to go to in Akron. Now they have taken up the gay agenda, and now you got they're ordaining gay ministers. And this one guy weighing at least 300, 400 pounds, but he's built like a ship. But his eyes are like demons. You can see the demon in him, and he's flamboyant and he's gay as he want to be. Then you had a guy in the choir that looked just like a refrigerator. He's same size refrigerator, but I call him refrigerator with arms. And he knew how to shake it up in the full foot. He know how to clap like that, tambourine. He know how to hit that tambourine, shake them big old hips, and he know how to lead the choir. The boy was bad, but he's a good tither. He's a good offering guy. See, so you got men that when gay men come into a church, they got good jobs. They just do. They're very super talented, and they give good offerings. So you don't want to mess that up. So then you have to find a way to interject them into God's services. Now, you tell God, we are going to commit a sin. We're going to commit a sin in church, but it's going to be for the betterment of the church. Let me help you with that. We're going to allow Satan to have a part in church in order to make the church better. Once you think that in your mind and you feel like that's good, then you implement that and you say, and don't tell, don't know. Don't tell, don't know. A guy comes in with a dress on. Or he comes into church, how can I say it? Dressed like a female. They have clothing now that's bi. It's called bi clothing. You can put on this outfit that's a man or woman can wear. That's more like a woman's outfit. It's like a man's outfit / woman. So you can come to church with a shirt almost not down to your knees, but almost to your knees, and it's real pretty and decorated, and the pants are tight fitting, and you can't say that's a woman's outfit, but you got enough sense to know that ain't no man outfit. A woman can wear that, or a man can wear that, because they have outfits they're making. You know who's in charge of the clothing, right? The LGBTQWZ, they are in charge of making clothing. So now they're making clothing, or clothing is becoming more and more feminine for men, and it's working. So you got this guy at the choir stand. His hairstyle is better than any woman up there. His little makeup is better than any of them. You can't see a lot of it, just enough for the city, just enough. You don't want to wear fingernail polish. You don't want to give yourself away too much. You want to wear clear fingernail polish. You want to look cute. And the women in the choir stand just loving it. They eating it up. And he just going on. And if you ever notice, you never see a gay person in the back row or even in the middle. They're always up front. Satan don't need them. If you're going to work for Satan, if you're gay, do not work in the back. You're not being used. I need you up front. I need you to turn the church out. I need you to seek and find the young men that you can turn out. I need you to make it where the pastor doesn't have a choice, but to allow you to work in ministry, whether he wants you to or not. And he can also blame it on the government and say, well, the government said, I must allow Satan to have certain seats in the choir, in the ministry. And it's not my fault. It's the government fault. So what you doing? Well, I signed the 503c1. I find that they offered that to me as a minister. I didn't want it. Now I don't be held down by the government rules and regulations as far as concerning our Lord and Master. And that's the way it is. So you have to allow them to have an office of their choice. So I was checking out the services. I noticed that all the gay men are ordained. What? I said, Amy, look. He's gay. He's ordained. He's ordained. He's ordained. And they're wearing the collars and they running around praying for folks. Then you're going to call a fast. After the fast, you're worse. So I know y'all think everybody's going to heaven. I know y'all think every pastor is going to heaven. I know y'all think every Christian is going to heaven. And not so. Not so. Not so. You have to give God your whole body, come hell or high water. That means whatever it takes, get the word out and the truth out. You got to hold that standard. You got to hold that. You got to stand on that. You don't stand on that on the Bible and truth, then you'll start sliding to the left a little bit at a time. Not a lot, a little bit at a time. Before you know it, most of your men, the choir stand, if not all, are flamboyant, looking for lovers. Everybody know that. If you go to any concert in a black community, if there's a huge black, like Church of God in Christ are now. Church of God in Christ is now in the flamboyant. They really got it going on. That's part of their stuff now. And they know how to jump, they know how to shout, and they out-sing anybody on planet Earth. Musicians are the best. The shouters, the dancers, the moonwalkers are the best. They know how to entertain you. I mean, they are good. People are clapping, they're loving the music. And they got one guy that was in full gear. He was in full out. His outfit was, he had the women's wig, the makeup, tall guy, slender. He had the woman's dress on. He leading that choir like he was a master female. And everybody was eating it up. The whole building was going nuts. The choir was singing. All the men were gay. Half the females were gay. And the ones that wasn't gay can't find a husband. And nowadays, the women can't find a husband because all the men want husbands for the most part. The pastors, they got boyfriends, they got wives, of course, but then they got boyfriends on the side. So we got a lot going on. Now, and again, this is not a popular message, and you're not going to like it. I'm not going to get no likes. I guarantee that. And it's just the way I told God I would tell the truth. I promised him, if you didn't give me a dime, I said, Lord, if you don't give me a dime, I'm going to tell the truth. But I did tell the Lord, if you can make another way for me to have finances instead of bowing down to Satan, please make it so. I just told the truth. I don't want to come into a situation where I'm allowing Satan to be part of my ministry. I don't need him in the ministry. My wife and I, she's asleep in the ministry. She's asleep right now. She went to bed earlier. But I need to go to heaven bad. I want to be with God bad. I mean bad. I mean, I can taste it. I want to be with God. And now God is getting ready to come back. And now y'all going to act a fool? What now? We're in the 11th hour. I know people don't believe that because they back in the Old Testament, same way, same situation. They didn't believe it until it was too late. So now God is getting ready to come back. Look at the situation. You got people stabbing people on the train in New York. You got people shooting at the gas station every day. If you want to kill somebody, hey, go to the gas station. They'll be there. They got a car, gotta get gas. They're gonna be there. That's where you want to kill them at, the gas station. But now they're not doing that also. Now they're killing them at the funeral. They're shooting at the funeral houses now? Yeah, that's right. If they're mad at the ops, if the ops are getting buried and the ops got family, let's go get the family. Where are they at? Well, they at the guy's funeral. Let's go just see how many we can shoot. And they go and spray the church, spray the funeral home. You can't have a funeral. Black people can't have a funeral no more because you got people killing at funerals. So it don't pay nowadays not to have Christ in your life because you don't know when you're going to go. I know you think you know, you don't know. A stray bullet can hit you. An elderly lady was passing out food and got shot. And the bullet's still in her back. See, you don't know. And she's a good woman, passing out food, serving the Lord, and she got shot. You don't know. You don't know. Now, of course, God can protect you, but He doesn't have to. Because if your number comes up, you gotta go. You gotta go. But look, if for any reason you got to go, be sure that you are right with God. You got to give God all your whole life. You can't be playing with God no more. Never can be, but all this Pisces, Virgo, Bull, and Sagittarius, that's all demonic. Those are separate fake gods that you hold on to it. And if you go to any church, and you'll find out. Go to any church and ask the question, how many here is Pisces or Virgos? And people start raising their hands. Yeah. You'll have a whole sermon on that, and they'll eat it up. But then, what you don't understand, you only can have one God. Choose you who this day you will serve, God or Satan. And Satan has connections. He has superstitions. Satan has deities. Satan has don't spit a black cat. Don't spit a pole. Don't do this. Don't do that. Satan has the zodiac signs. And if you read the Bible in New Testament, Old Testament, and New Testament, God said it stinks in His nostrils. People are serving the stars and the moon, and God said, do not serve. Do not make the stars of heaven, the moon, and the sun a god. I was not for that. God said that was for the earth to be able to do what it got to do. But they took the Romans, Pharaoh people started that. Satan helped them to get started. Now you have this zodiac sign that they come up with. Why should you believe in God altogether? You're going to have a side piece as your zodiac sign. What's your sign? I'm Libra. What are you? I'm a Taurus. Well, we can't get along. We can't get along. Who told you that? Satan told us that. Because see, God said one thing and Satan said another. We're going to believe Satan for that. When you die, if you believe, if you follow, if you believe and support the zodiac signs, you ain't going to make it in heaven. Saved or unsaved. You're not going to make it in heaven. You're not going to make it. Now, you know, y'all mad. Y'all don't like that. And I'm going to get paid for that. I ain't going to hit that like button, man. I ain't going to hit that like button. I ain't going to subscribe. I hate that. I hate what he said. I've been a Virgo all my life. All my life. And I ain't giving up for God and nobody else. That's right. God and go kick rocks. And so you hold on to that God, and then when you die, that's the one that's supposed to get you in heaven. And if he can't usher you in heaven, and then now you got to go with Satan. And Satan gonna be waiting for you. I'm over here. I'm the one you depend on. I'm the Libra. I'm the Pisces. That's right. I'm the one that started that, you dummy. Come over here with me. Now, with that saying, I'll let you guys go. I'll try to get some rest. I'm all amped up now. So we'll find something else to read in the Bible because it's going on 1 o'clock now. But I'm going to find some more stuff to read in the Bible tonight before I go to bed and talk with the Lord and spend some time with him. So see you guys next time. Pray for me. I pray for you. But I'm just saying, it is what it is.